Hello, welcome to our dementia workshop, The Gems. I'm Eric Rohr. I'm the owner of Assisting Hands Richmond, and we're really excited to have you join us for this workshop. A really quick technical note, we have re-recorded the first part of this presentation due to technical difficulties, but we're so glad that you're viewing in, and we're really excited to present this live on September 17th, 2020. So anyway, with that, I want to also thank Brookdale Senior Living for working with us on bringing this workshop to you all. So we've laid out a series of dementia workshops that we're doing. We're now in the second of these workshops that we're holding on the second Thursday of every month. As many of you may know, we did not do it last week due to Kathy being out sick, but we're so glad that she's back with us today to present these materials. We look forward to presenting these other workshops to you via virtually over the next several months. So with that, I'd like to introduce Cathy Hamlin. So Kathy, who's the executive administrator here at Assisting Hands Richmond, is a certified PAC, which is Positive Approach to Care coach. And PAC is the organization that was started and led by Teepa Snow, who's a wonderful, wonderful person that has really helped bring forward the care for people who are living with dementia. And so I'm really proud that Kathy went and got certified. She's one of the few certified professionals in the Richmond area to be able to present this material, and is qualified to train others and coach others in the Positive Approach to Care dementia approach. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Cathy Hamlin, who will go through our workshop goals and the rest of the workshop.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. So out of our goals, we'd like to start with giving you a brief understanding of dementia. I want to define and understand, want you to be able to define and understand the GEMS model to identify the various stages of dementia. We'll show you some support strategies for each of the dementia stages, and then we'll have some identification resources for you. We want to kind of ask a poll question right quick. How many of you are actually aware, or do you have any experience with people living with dementia? If you could do that for us right quick, we kind of have a little understanding of where we're going. Okay. Are we ready, Eric and Brooke? Okay.
So sharing the results, so that gives you kind of a sense. It looks like we have people that, individuals that have someone who they love living with dementia, as well as people that are professionals that are caring for someone living with dementia. So anyway.
Okay. All right. Well, dementia, of course, is an umbrella term of a lot of different types of cognitive diseases that roll under the term of dementia. There's 4 different truths about dementia that everybody needs to understand. At least 2 of the parts of the brain are dying at any one time. It keeps changing. It gets worse. It's never going to get any better. It's not curable or fixable, and it does result in death. Now, while there are some other underlying conditions that can contribute to death or speed it up a little bit, when you have dementia, the end result is that you will be terminal. Currently, there are over 100 different types of dementias listed in this umbrella, with more being identified every single day. We have the 4 main types are Alzheimer's, dementia with Lewy body, vascular, and frontotemporal. Not all causes of Alzheimer's are actually known. There is a small percentage that is related to gene mutations that can be passed down from parent to child.
When you have Lewy bodies, that's of course when you've got abnormal clumps of protein found in your brain that can make you do weird things a little more than the normal. Vascular dementia can be brought on with different types of diseases that have happened to your blood vessels. It could be a stroke. It could be any alcohol related, drug related, anything that's going to be messing with the blood flow to your brain. There's also a group of diseases characterized by the different breakdowns of the nerve cells and their connections to the frontal and temporal lobes. So that's where your frontotemporal dementias come in. Now, another interesting thing that we've learned recently is that autopsy studies of brains in people who are 80 and over who had dementia indicates that many of them had a lot of different types of causes. Could have been Alzheimer's, vascular, and Lewy bodies all combined. As we are getting into trying to understand what causes dementia, there are a lot of causes and risk factors that family history is a good one though. If you have an older relative, parent, grandparent who had Alzheimer's or any other type of dementia, the chances are you're at a greater risk of developing that disease. Genetics is a big factor. Huntington's disease can appear as early as 40 in some people. And then people who have Parkinson's disease can also come back and develop dementia and with that. Another thing that people don't realize is that a lot of folks who are diagnosed with Down syndrome will actually end up developing dementia by their middle age, early 40s. Dementia is caused by damage to or loss of the nerve cells and in their connections. And depending on the brain, part of the brain that is affected by the damage, the dementia can affect people differently, and it can also cause different types of symptoms. You'll see that we've got several of the more common types of symptoms listed here. It doesn't mean that everybody has to have one of them or everybody has to have all of them or a combination. It could just be one or two things, could be 3 or 4. It's just really how your social and economic and history all combines together. So when we are trying to understand the GEMS, we will go into a lot of different types of things, but one of the things is that you'll realize as you're coming into the GEMS models, it allows us to see what is left. We're not really looking at what we've lost. We're not looking at what has gone bye-bye long ago. We need to be able to look at the person individually and say, you know, we have lost this, but we have retained this. How do we make it better? How do we help everybody live our life well? So the GEM level system was designed to simplify a very complex process into a structured approach for everybody involved to better care and support those living with dementia. It's, again, based off the Allen cognitive levels. It's based off of a combination of the disability theory, which is occupational therapy related. And it's just kind of trying to figure out where one system wasn't enough, one was a little overwhelming. How do you put them together to figure out what helps? So how do the GEMS help? It uses familiar concepts to talk about a difficult subject. It allows us to focus on what is valued. It allows us to get beyond the words, Alzheimer and dementia. And it opens the door so that we can talk about the changes that are going on within our bodies. And it allows us also to speak in code to protect everyone's dignity. Some of the key points that you'll want to remember when you're using the GEMS level is your abilities are ever changing. What you see, hear, and experience today could be different from what you see, hear, and experience tomorrow. They can vary during the course of the day. You can be a sapphire early in the morning. You can be a diamond later in the afternoon. You could eventually go into an emerald state before the day is over. It just depends on how someone is reacting to the gym signs at any one particular time. And then we're going to give you some tips on how to use that particular gym level to support them where they are in the moment. Please keep in mind as we get going, gym levels are not negative levels. They are just indicators to help us guide those to help care for those that we love and want to make a positive difference. So we're going to try to move into a supportive role and help them out. If there are ever any sudden or unexpected changes seen in the gym levels, make sure that someone who is monitoring the health of your loved one knows about it and is responding to this change. Sometimes it could mean that they are moving into the next level of dementia. Sometimes it could be that there is an environmental distress going on that we need to eliminate. They could be sick. They just could not be feeling well. Could be hungry. Or it could be that they're just having a really bad day. So we need to take all of these things into effect. Well, we'll start with our GYMS overview. We start with the Sapphire. The Sapphire is true blue. That's your optimal cognition. That's where most of us are on any given day. It's easy to flip back and forth between a Sapphire and a Diamond state, but your Sapphire is going to be your normal aging. It's going to show your flexibility, that you're adaptable. As we are aging, though, and as our loved ones with dementia are aging, it's very easy to go into a Diamond level from the Sapphire level. Diamonds are still clear and sharp, but routines and rituals rule. And it may be that I'm sure you've told your kids, like I've told mine many times, it's my way or the highway. That's my Diamond state coming out. Doesn't mean I necessarily have advanced dementia, depending on who you ask in the family, but it's just some things that go on like that. Then we'll go down into the Emerald. Emerald is where you will start to see a little more progression with the disease itself and changing the way you need to support your person. Ambers are, again, getting a little more progressive with Ruby following there. And then the Pearl stage will be the end of the journey for us all. So we'll start with the Sapphires. And this is a quote from Teepa. My brain is healthy, it's true blue. If I am aging normally or distressed, it may be hard for me to find the words. I can describe what I'm thinking to you so that you understand. I may talk to myself because I'm giving myself cues and prompts. I can learn new things and change habits, but it takes time and effort. Honoring my choices and my preferences when possible is important to me. I need more time to make decisions. Give me the details and let me think about it before you need an answer. I am able to remember my plans and information, but supports are helpful. I may like specific prompts such as notes, calendars, and reminder calls. Health changes in vision, hearing, balance, coordination, depression, anxiety, pain, or medication may impact my behavior, but my cognitive abilities remain the same. So normal aging is, or no dementia, healthy, you're non-stressed, the brain stays mostly the same without changing, but it is slowing down some. There may be moments of feeling blue and about the changes and the losses, but Sapphires can and do and learn new things. It just takes a little more effort than it did when we were younger. Takes you more time, more practice to learn, but staying true to yourself and lifelong patterns will prevail unless there is an active decision to change with the Sapphire. There are some retained abilities here. You'll see as you're getting older, your general vision does lose about 45 degrees of your field at times. Your receptive language pitches are harder, crowded, loud spaces are harder to deal with. Sometimes finding your words are a little slower, But usually you know if you get turned around where you are. If you are a little bit hesitant, if you take your time to think about it, you can remember things. Dexterity and hand skills are still intact or a little slower. But still, sometimes you need physical assistance for hard to do tasks or personal care, but it's really going to vary based on the person and the sensory issues facing that person. Now, keep in mind, a Sapphire, while it is a normal aging brain, we can still provide as Sapphire supports for the other gem states as long as we are also supporting ourselves and having proper care. One of the things that you'll need to know for Sapphires and to helping with tips is always give them more time to make the choices or decisions. Provide the information and let them think about it before they have to have an answer back to you. A lot of Sapphires will typically resent takeover unless they have asked you to do it or unless they want you to do it. Logic and reasoning are the same level for the most of your life. Use what you know about a person to determine who and what types of questions to ask, information to share, and the support that you need to offer. If there is a preferred learning style or they tend to use specific prompts like to-do list, grocery list, a big calendar with flags all over them, pill boxes, cell phone alarms, always try to use that particular learning mode to work with a Sapphire. And due to common hearing issues, make sure that only one person is talking at a time when important information is being discussed. You want to allow enough time for questions and ask them to share what was said back. That way you are making sure that they understood you and that you understood them. And it also gives you an opportunity to provide any missed items, missed questions, or misunderstood concepts. Then we go into our diamonds. Diamonds are clear and sharp. Routines and rituals apply, always. My overall cognition is clear and sharp. When happy and supported, I am capable and shine in my abilities. When distressed, I can be cutting and rigid and may see your help as a threat. I have trouble seeing other points of view and may become less aware of boundaries or more possessive about my relationships, personal space, and belongings. I have many facets so people can see me differently depending on the situation. This can cause conflict among my family, my friends, or care team, as it's hard to tell if I'm choosing my behavior or if I truly have limits in my ability. I can socially engage and have good cover skills. People will vary in their awareness of what is happening to me. I want to keep habits and environments as they've always been, even if they're problematic for me or for others. I am often focused on the past, personal values, or finances. I will need help to make changes in my life because it's hard for me to do that. I can be in a diamond state for other reasons than dementia. So even though you prefer the familiar and you may resist change, you sometimes don't want to let things go, you can. But your personal likes and your personal dislikes in your relationships and in your space and your belongings certainly become more intense as you get into the diamond state. Diamonds are getting rigid, and they do best with established routines and rituals. They can really do well at times. They can also say very mean things and hurtful things without seeming to notice or to even care. They talk and worry about a cost, money, and expenses. And different people will see diamonds differently because we can cover very quickly and we cover very well with some of our flaws. Diamonds don't seem to get it at times or they won't seem to let it go. Some family members may not be sure, is it dementia, or you just being stubborn, or you just mean and forgetful? So a lot of things can go into being a diamond. But you'll see here too that we have general, our vision starts to change into tunnel vision. We are getting slower in our language skills. We're missing consonants. Our dexterity skills are slower and limited with bilateral skilled integration. Our body skills are not as good, but they're okay. People know how to push your buttons. You know how to push their buttons, and you can actually make them look bad when you know how to do that. With time awareness, diamonds tend to dwell more in the past than they do in the now, but they definitely want to keep their situational awareness and keep them in the same roles where they are. So to be able to really support a diamond, you've got to be able to recognize the changes and be willing to modify your approach and expectations when symptoms are active. Stop arguing. Give up the reality of orientation. Stop needing to be right. Learn how to support and help without being bossy or over competitive, or even just taking over completely. A good thing with diamonds is it's always be willing to say you're sorry. I'm sorry, I was just trying to help. I am sorry I made you feel angry or sad or frustrated or feel stupid. I'm sorry this has happened to you, or I'm sorry this is so hard for you. When you are asked or told something repeatedly, get rid of the words. Don't you remember we talked about this before? Because no, they don't. Instead, just offer the information being asked about using a combination of your verbal and your visual cues. Always keep your voice and your mannerisms calm and friendly. But if you are getting tired and frustrated, take a break, because your tiredness and your frustration will rub off on the person living with dementia. And it's always good, if you can, to use humor rather than negative emotions to cope. You might also want to limit the sharing of advanced information, appointments, vacations, or plans, unless it's going to cause complete distress for the person living with dementia. Always listen to the old stories with enthusiasm and, hey, tell me all about that. Really? That happened? How? Wow. Let them keep as many of their old routines and habits as possible. Excuse me. But if they aren't working, indicate that an authority figure says we might have to do something different. You always want to establish and maintain a healthy balance to the day. You want to make it balanced between being productive, having wellness checks, restorative, and leisure activities. And investigate their safety in independent living. This is when you really start to need to think, well, are they okay on their own, or do we possibly need to give a little extra support here? They're going to need some help with their independent living skills. Are we ready to talk about driving? Are we ready to talk about financial management? Are we trying to care for someone else while we are living with dementia? We need to monitor our medications and our health and our meals and food, and make sure that we're taking care of everything, including ourselves. And so now we've come time for another poll question. Eric, you wanna? So is anybody in the audience currently providing care or support for either a sapphire or a diamond?
A few more people to respond, and then I'll publish the poll.
Okay.
Okay, it looks like everybody's going to vote, has voted.
All right.
So it looks like a few people have a diamond, some have both, and there's a few people that are not sure. So that's good, interesting.
Okay. All right, so now we're at the emerald stage. They're green and on the go with a purpose, and they're naturally flawed. And this is where you will really start to see some significant changes. I am flawed. It is part of being a natural emerald. I tend to be focused on what I want or need in this moment and may not be aware of my own safety or changing abilities. I can chat socially, but I typically miss 1 out of every 4 words, and I cannot accurately follow the meaning of longer conversations. I won't remember the details of our time together, but I will remember how your body language and tone of voice made me feel. I may hide or misplace things and believe someone has taken them. My brain will make up information to fill in the blanks, which makes you think I'm lying. If you try to correct me or argue, I may become resentful or suspicious of you. I am not always rational, but I don't want to be made to feel incompetent. My brain plays tricks on me, taking me to different times and places in my life. When I'm struggling, I may tell you I want to go home. To provide the help and assistance I need, you must go with my flow, use a positive, partnered approach, and modify my environment. Emeralds are clearly no longer able to be independent. They are making mistakes and they're not noticing, or they're getting upset about the mistakes, but they're unable to figure out how to fix it. They'll either want to always be in charge, or they will look for someone to take over and help them by guiding and direct. Emeralds want to be seen as competent adults, but their language skills and their comprehension skills are much more vague than they have been. So they need to have meaningful engagements to fill the day, but they may not know it. They tend to get lost in the sequence of events. They don't pick up on their own internal cues. They may start to have bathroom accidents. They may start skipping meals or eating too often. They may even start missing baths and not changing their clothes. But what's really unfortunate is that so many people are not even diagnosed with dementia until we start displaying some of these symptoms. So you're now moving down into binocular vision. You're missing, again, about 1/4 of your words. You need to be paused, better with rhythm. Your body skills, you're better with your dominant side, but you're still making errors. You do recognize people that you like, and you do recognize people that you do not like. And if you're okay with what you're seeing, then you're okay. If it's not, then you'll go back to what is familiar, to a familiar task, to a familiar social setting. And then emeralds will also start to get caught into the loop. What, when, where, how, why, continually over and over and over again. They also know that they need help, and they also know when they don't like it. So to help somebody really who is in the emerald stage, you need to learn the importance of, so what? Is it really that big of a deal? Is it worth it? Is it going to be make something fixed now? Is it that important? And if it doesn't matter now, is it going to matter in 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 months, or 5 years? So just always remember, so what? It happened. We'll deal with it. Greet before you treat. Learn the importance of getting connected each time before you approach someone living in an emerald state. It just makes them more comfortable, and it helps you to get more things done, especially if you're trying to address or fix something that you noticed isn't quite right. And this is another stage where you'll need to learn how to do things with folks living with dementia, not to them and not for them. This is the time in our lives where we need to be a partner and let them feel that we are all in this together. When the person living with dementia is lost in life, accept that in this moment they are lost. Stay calm, reconnect, and get in a way that they can understand and you can understand them. We want to listen to them and try to figure out what they need and then try to meet that need. If they don't seem to know who you are to them, let it go. Just relax and be a friend. You want to build a daily routine and schedules that provide structure and sequence that is regular. They do need to have some kind of set schedules every single day. Be careful when you're dealing with special events and surprises. You might want to start out by keeping them very small and short, and be willing to let it go if it's not working with the person living with dementia. If you want something that is not working, stop and back off, change something, and then reapproach and try again. We also need to learn how to respond and not to react to what is being said and done. And sometimes this is going to feel like a heck of a lot more like work than actually providing support. Break down your task, your activities, and expectations down into smaller steps, doing less at a time. Try to think about what they would like to do and not what really needs to be done. So again, the most important thing when you're working with folks in the Emerald State is to remember, so what? Does it really make a difference? So now we'll ask another poll question. How many of you have been providing support for an Emerald?
I'll leave it open just a little bit longer. Looks like people are responding. All right. So it looks like we have quite a few people that are providing care or support for an Emerald right now.
Yeah, and that's, I would say that's, I would have expected that to probably be a little bit more. But again, this is when people really start seeing that dementia has definitely kicked in. So that's not overly surprising there. All right, with our next gym that we go to, it's the Amber State. Come on. So Ambers are caught in a moment of time and caution is required. Like a particle trapped in an amber, I am caught in a moment of time. It may surprise you to see how I take the world around me. I may not know you or see you as a whole person. I may react to you based on how you look, sound, move, smell, and respond to me. I like to do simple tasks over and over and may need to repeatedly move and touch, smell, taste, take, or tear items apart. While it may exhaust or frustrate you, it soothes me. I don't recognize danger. You will have to safeguard my environment. I am intolerant to discomfort because my mouth, my hands, feet, and genitalia are highly sensitive due to changes in my nervous system. Therefore, activities like eating, taking medicines, mouth care, bathing, dressing, and toiletry may distress me. Please notice my reaction and stop if I am resisting. I can't help myself, and one or both of us may get hurt emotionally and or physically. If this happens, wait a few minutes, reconnect with me, and try a different approach, possibly substituting one area of focus for another. Ambers are living in the moment of time. And it's not always in the past, it's where we are right now. They are focused on sensation.
What does it look like? What does it sound like, feel like, smell like, taste like? And then what can I do with this item, with this space or this sensation? They explore without safety awareness. It's all about the sensory needs and tolerance. They are not aware of task as much. It's more like, do I really want to do it or not? Ambers have no ability to delay need or gratification. And a lot of times it's hard to connect and spend time with someone in the amber state because unfortunately it's the way that they are. It's part of the process of being lost in the time. With their vision, they're seeing parts but not whole. Loss of object recognition. They're missing about half the words you're saying when you're speaking to them. They may catch some key words but take them out of context. If okay here feels okay, they'll be fine. Otherwise, they'll be looking for a place that does feel okay. In their situational awareness, and you may notice this more often as you're working with ambers, some will go towards the action and some will go away. There's no real definitive thing, well, let's go this way or the other. They're seeking something that makes them feel okay for the moment. Some of the ways that we can help ambers with their general life, everyday life, is use their behaviors to guide our responses in helping them. Be prepared for sensory needs and tolerance issues. If it's hard to be with your loved one in an amber state, keep your visit short. It's much, much better to have 5 really good minutes than an hour of distress for both of you. You want to look, listen, feel, smell, and taste. Try really hard to figure out the sensation that the person living with dementia is seeking, if they're avoiding it, if they want it or dislike, and then they're trying other things to kind of help them figure out what they want, do they want to reduce it? Do they want to remove something that's bothering them? They want to put something on that's making them feel more comfortable. And keep in mind, it's better to think twice and act once rather than being too quick and then having to do it over and over and over again. Sometimes the best thing in working with an amber is to take a time out. Just step away for a few minutes, take a deep breath, then try to reapproach and reconnect using your visual and verbal cueing and touching that seems to match up with whatever the person living with dementia is doing at the time. We also need to be willing to slow down or speed up to match them, and then gradually work with them to change our rhythm and pattern to reach a more comfortable level without having to stop or to get started again or having to get going by blocking or opposing, those kinds of things. It's really important to simplify their world, their task, the expectations, and interactions. Don't infantize it, just make it more simple. When greeting and offering cues, exaggerate your visual responses. Use more automatic social greetings and movement and encouragement, but limit the verbal information and instructions when you're trying to help them rather than doing those things for them. You might want to ask them to share past experiences related to what they like to look at. Are there any particular pictures, videos, or site-based items that they really seem to connect with? What do they like to hear? What are their musical preferences? What are their volume preferences? Are there any accents or speech factors that may seem to make a difference that we need to avoid? What touch and movement sensations that are liked, and what do they seem to avoid? And is it being touched? Or touching? Some just don't want to be touched, where they like to do the touching themselves. Some types of temperatures and textures, and speed of moving, taste, favorite foods or recipes. These are things that they like, and also know the things that they dislike. So here we are again, one more poll question. Is anybody actually providing support for an amber? Are you aware of that?
Okay, just a few more seconds. We'll let people. Okay. So it looks like we have a few people that are currently caring for an amber. So,
Okay.
all right.
Our next stage is the ruby stage. And again, we are actually approaching the final journey as we go. With rubies, you're starting to see a significant decline. You're able to do big movements, but you're not able to do the fine detailed skills. Say chewing, use of fingers, utensils, and others tend to cause more spills, slips, and trips. People in the ruby stage can copy you, but they cannot imitate you. They do need to tend to repeat behaviors. They're losing their fine motor skills in their eyes, their mouths, their fingers, and feet. They're typically better with rhythmic movements, singing, humming, rocking, swaying, and dance. But for Teepa, as a ruby, as the deep red of the ruby mask details, my obvious losses make my remaining abilities harder to notice. Although my fine motor skills become very limited, remember I am not able to move and do simple things with my hands. You will need to anticipate, identify, and respond to all of my needs, even though I might not even be aware of them. Plan to create a supportive environment, help with just the details of care and structure of my day. Just as a crossing guard directs traffic, you will need to guide my movements and transitions. I can rarely stop or start on my own, and switching gears is a challenge. Move with me first, then use your body to show me what you want me to do next, going one step at a time. Hand under hand assistance helps me to feel safe and secure and know what to do. Danger is a part of my life due to loss in skills, visual, chewing abilities, balance, and coordination. You can reduce the risk to me, but not eliminate them. I can still have moments of joy when you're able to provide what gives me pleasure. Well, we're now moving into monocular vision. Our vision is slowing down like the rest of us. We can still have some social chit chat, do some music, singing, that type of thing, but expressing language can be very difficult to do. Our body skills become whole body, they're not segmented, and if you're approaching from the front, you're okay, but please don't approach somebody in a ruby state from the back. That could cause a lot of angst for the person living with dementia, and it could cause pain for the person not living with dementia. So when we're working with rubies, the best thing now is we have to realize we are slowing down. Realize it takes longer to figure things out, takes longer to do things, and it takes longer to process anything and to react. Break down my task into small steps. Think it through before you get started and determine what you want me to end up doing. But remember, only give me one step at a time. Work on demonstrating and showing your loved ones what you want them to do rather than telling them and getting frustrated and getting louder and louder. Plan out the day so that you have a balance of active and restful periods, and try to transition slowly from one period to the other. Manage the sensory and physical environment with either calming or stimulating cues, depending on what is needed at that moment in time. and guide and cue. Don't push, don't pull, don't force. The more you push, the more they'll react and push back and resist. You want to use your voice to encourage and engage, but limit talking, especially if they're trying to move away from you, if they're in a noisy area or in a crowded space or activity. Sometimes it's really nice just to be able to sit and be silent with them, and that's what they need as well as you. Use what is calming to them to help settle them, and what is stimulating to them to help them get going again. So now we've got another poll question. Is anybody out there working with a Ruby?
Okay, a few more seconds. Okay, looks like that's going to be everybody. Looks like we have a couple people, 3 people that are helping provide care and support for Ruby. And I'm sure you all know exactly how difficult that is.
Yeah. Okay, so. And now we come to the pearl. The pearl is hidden within a shell. They're beautiful moments to behold, but this is definitely the end of the journey. While hidden like a pearl in an oyster shell, I will still have moments when I become alert and responsive. I am near the end of my life. Moments of connection create a sense of wholeness and value between us. So use our time together, not just to provide care, but to comfort and connect with me. To help me complete life well, it is important to honor my personhood when making medical or care decisions. Please don't talk about me as if I am not still here. I respond best to familiar voices and gentle rhythmic moments. I am ruled by my reflexes and will startle easily. My brain is losing its ability to control and heal my body, so be prepared to see me having difficulty breathing or swallowing. My body may no longer desire food and drink as I prepare to leave this life. You may not be able to stop living without permission from you to go. Your greatest gift at this time in my life is to let me know that it's okay to go. This is the end of the journey. This is where your loved one will become immobile, curled in a fetal position. The person that we have known and loved all of our lives is locked away most of the time. Their body is failing and their brain is failing. But the person will still have moments of connecting and moments when the person reappears, layer by layer. Cherish those moments. Reflexes are often overwhelming or they're missing. Connections have to be made slowly and can't be maintained for long. But the most important thing that I can tell anybody living or loving with someone in a pearl state is we have to be able to say, it's okay to go. Because if we can't give them permission, then they may not be able to leave us. And it puts your heart and the brain in a really tough situation. You definitely, your head tells you that the time has come. We need to say goodbye. But your heart's always begging for one more day. But really, it's more important that if you can do it, it's okay, Mom. I'll be okay, Mom. I'll see you soon, Mom. And then let them go. So you kind of want to take time to observe and check out how and where they are before you approach them to determine really just how alert they are. Sometimes they may hear you come, sometimes they may not. It might just be a time for you to go in and hold their hand and let them go. But if you are ready, you can offer them the greatest gift of all by telling them it's okay.
because they're not going to be able to leave you without permission. Is anybody working with someone in a Pearl stage?
I think everybody heard Kathy's emotion in her voice. I'll tell you that every time we go through this presentation, we get to the Pearl, we both get emotional. So it is hard. So I'll leave it open just for a few more seconds. All right, I think that's, so it looks like we have a couple people. So I think the people who have provided support or care for someone with a Pearl understand, and probably everybody on the call understands just how emotional that can be. All right.
It is. It can be a little bit more. So you see with your Pearls, you've got a lot of changes. You are saying goodbye. Time has no meaning anymore. But then we've also given you this little chart here of some of the things that you can deal with, how your gyms support the people living with dementia and how you can support your gyms. It's just really good information. We'll talk more about these as we go into our future presentations. And I think I understood that Eric and Brooke will mail this out to everyone so that you'll actually have some of these things at your fingertips when you need them.
Yep.
Then we've got our Dementia Resources. Of course, first and foremost for me is Ms. Teepa Snow. She has a lot of things going on right now that for both professionals and for family members of people living with dementia. I would encourage everybody to go to her website and see all of the different things that she is doing for everyone at the moment. We also have some partners that we can help with DARS, which is the Department for Aging and Rehabilitative Services. They're actually right down the road from us. George Worthington is a really good person to work with there. We've got AARP of Virginia. We've got Marie Calindo from the Alzheimer's Association. What a wonderful resource for all of us to have. And then, of course, we have Assisting Hands, where we can help you in your home or in your community or wherever you call home. And then we also partner with Brookdale Midlothian, which is also a wonderful place for folks to call home. Okay, so we have finished our second workshop. We'll do our third one on October the 8th, Thursday at 10, where we'll be talking about effective communication strategies and how to decode the verbal and behavioral messages delivered by someone living with dementia, and some of the things that you can do to help yourself and them connect and communicate with each stage of the disease. Brooke, anything else?
No, Kathy, that was incredible. It was great. It was hard to, I mean, I could feel your emotion, and I know, you know, Eric's firsthand experience, you guys, and then just with our residents here, I was one of the ones that answered yes on every poll question, because in our memory care, we have varying levels of dementia and Alzheimer's. So, and we currently do have a Pearl with us right now, and it's tough for the staff because our residents become our family, and their family becomes our family. So it's hard. Yep. But this is really, really useful information. There's things that you talked about today that were brand new to me, that I will take and use on a daily basis now. So I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me. I have really enjoyed working with all of you on this.
So why don't we have one more poll, and then why don't we open it up to questions? So the poll question is whether anybody has additional questions they need to support either in their home, or it's gotten to a stage where home is not really a good alternative and they need maybe some assistance with memory care. So if you could just let us know your response to that, and then we'll take questions in the chat box. Brooke, Kathy, and I will look at that. So if you have any questions.
I actually do. This is Brooke. On one of the first slides in the start of the presentation, Kathy, I found it very interesting that there was a note saying that by 2030, that it'll triple. It'll be almost 75 million people worldwide. What is the reason for such a strong growth? Is there one? I mean, is that just really? I was shocked by that.
Well, I'll say this, and Kathy, obviously the expert, will jump in this. I've been reading a lot. It's interesting that the baby boomer generation actually is showing a decline. It's the first generation to show a decline in cognitive growth and health. And I think that we see our health and our activity and what we eat is so linked to dementia. And I think just as a society, globally, but maybe just more so in the US, is we are not taking as good a care of ourselves. And the way the rest of our body is reacting is our brain follows suit. And I think diabetes, so my sister had type 2 diabetes, which I think led to some of the dementia as well. So that is kind of what I've read, is just our overall health is starting to fail globally, and that is affecting our long-term brain health.
I think that is a large contributor, but I also think that with all of the research going on, people are putting more and more effort into learning more about these horrible diseases. And I think it's a learning curve. I think it's things that we just never really thought about years ago, and we just, took it in stride. People got old, they lost their minds, we put them away, we locked them away, and that was done. But now we're realizing that if we can get control of it faster and sooner, that our lives are a little more productive, a little longer. So I think it's a thing of everything: research, education, taking care of ourselves. Like Eric said, it's just a combination of a lot of different things.
One of the questions in the chat box: will the slides be available? And yes, we will. I have everybody's email address, so I'll email a copy of the presentation out to everyone. And we'll also make a recording available, and I'll send the link out to that once it's up and running. I will tell you all that there was a few technical difficulties behind the scenes. Something was going on with Zoom. So I did start recording it, and we caught it about when Kathy was going through the workshop goals. So most of the meaty content was recorded, just not the beginning part when I was kind of blathering on. So you guys are probably gonna be thankful for that.